Experience today's Umbria. Experience Umbria through the European Union's cohesion policy.
Por ser mujer y por ser periodista, yo creo que hay una doble vulnerabilidad donde usan el cuerpo de la mujer para desacreditarte como periodista. Pero esa es una estrategia que usan las dictaduras o los regímenes que tenemos en la región para que las mujeres periodistas dejen de hacer lo que estamos haciendo, porque saben que somos vanguardistas y estamos peleando esa buena batalla en estos momentos cruciales.
Это жизнь в состоянии постоянной тревоги, потому что, да, я не могу поехать домой, но дома осталась семья, родственники, пожилые родственники, друзья. Но ты к этой тревоге привыкаешь, вот, наверное. То есть это такая все время фоновая тревожность, где ты очень сильно зависишь от того, что там происходит.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome in this incredible place. I'm still in awe. Welcome to our panel called Unseen Burdens, the Invisible Backpack of Women Journalists in Exile. My name is Nadine Gerard. I am the Deputy Head of Department Asia and Europe at Deutsche Welle Academy. And we're going to talk about exile for women journalists today, which is becoming, well, exile is becoming a reality for a growing number of journalists all around the world. At DW Academy, we work with media outlets and journalists that were forced into exile from Afghanistan, from Belarus, from Russia, from Myanmar, from Nicaragua, from many other countries in Central America. And we do this very closely with our local partners. We work, for example, with the Press Club Belarus, with the Baltic Center for Media Excellence, and with the Instituto de Prensa y Libertad de Expresión, which is based in Costa Rica. Last year, we published, together with IPLEX, a study on the situation of women journalists in exile and the specific threats and the specific situation and challenges that they face just for being women. Many of the women we interviewed told us that they feel that they're wearing an invisible backpack, which is filled with the consequences of gender-specific threats and many other burdens that are not often talked about. So today we are here to unpack this backpack, and we've brought one here to show. I am very happy and very grateful to be joined by 3 amazing journalists who will talk about their situation and the situation of other women who had to go into exile because of their work, simply for doing their work as journalists. So let me introduce to you Abigail Hernandez, who is a Nicaraguan journalist currently in exile in Costa Rica. Abigail is the founder and director of La Sala, Mujeres en la Redacción, which is a network that brings together women-led Central American media outlets. And La Sala also aims to strengthen the position of female journalists and to expand the media perspectives on women and on women's rights and gender-based violence. Abigail is widely recognized for her work on human rights and freedom of expression, and she's emerged as one of the most prominent journalists of her generation to keep critical reporting alive under the Daniel Ortega regime. Welcome, Abigail. Then next to her is Sumon Phyo, a Burmese journalist currently in exile in Thailand. Sumon is the co-founder and program director of the Delta News Agency, a regional media outlet dedicated to independent reporting on the Irrawaddy Delta and the surrounding areas in Myanmar, focusing on food security, on human rights and corruption reporting. She oversees both the editorial and operational strategy, drawing on nearly 8 years of experience from previous roles at Education Digest, the Irrawaddy, 7 Days News, Democratic Voice of Burma, and the Yangon Journalism School. And then last, but definitely not least, is Ira Norvik, investigative journalist and author originally from St. Petersburg, currently in exile in the Baltics. Ira is a correspondent for the independent media Vodtak and has also been contributing to Novaya Gazeta Europe, The Insider, and Medusa. Her articles and videos have been nominated for the Russian Journalism Award Red Kollegia 11 times. And she is the author of an online database called Army of Criminals, which shows crimes committed by Russian army commanders during the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And her book, I Am a Deserter, also explores the experiences of Russian soldiers who fled the war. And last year in October, no surprise, Ira was declared a foreign agent by the Russian authorities, and I'm sure we will go into that as well, what that means. So we want to obviously want to hear from you about your situations, but we also want to look forward and we want to discuss what has to change so that women journalists in exile get more support to continue working as journalists and continue reporting. So let's start where it all began, at least for you and for going into exile. Sumon, you were forced into exile when the military brutally overthrew the Myanmar government in February 2021, which ended also the democratic path that Myanmar had been on for 10 years until then. You were part of a very thriving media scene in Yangon, and then you found yourself having to cross the border illegally. What made that unavoidable for you?
Hello. Thank you for having me today, because this is my first time in this festival, and I'm so proud of it to be here and they have opportunity to speak about Burmese journalists. And yes, I would like to be a little bit explain about my country. So, how can I say? In Myanmar, since I was a childhood, and I aware that my country is under the control of the military leaders, and then I grew up with the propaganda TV channels and the news, and how can I say, since we are a young, we are not there to say about democracy and human rights, even the name of the Aung San Suu Kyi, who was a Nobel Peace winner. So back in 2013, and I became a journalist, and then I worked for the weekly newspaper, daily newspaper, and also the broadcasting. And then how can I say, in 2018, I co-founded my organization, Data News Agency. So unfortunately, they have a coup happen in 2021. So how can I say, in Myanmar, we already aware that. So after the coup happened in Myanmar, they will be definitely targeted to the journalists because they have a lot of history and example. So firstly, I have to think about it. Should I keep doing or stop? But I decided I want to keep doing this, my job. So after that, the military regime, they announced, they made an announcement ban to the media organization, is including DNA. So how can I say, it is not impossible to stay in the country. So firstly, I decided to relocate. So we relocate to the liberated area, which controlled by the ethnic armed groups near with Thai border. So in that place, we can keep walking. They have access to Wi-Fi, so we keep walking. But another problem is the military raid that area, and they attack with airstrike, the heavy weapon. So I have to flee again. During that day, the military is totally control that area, so I can't go back there. So I have to cross the border to the Thailand. So actually, an exile was not choice for me because I want to stay inside the country and keep doing, but I have no choice, and I became an exile. So in the early years in Thailand as an exile, so it's a lot of difficult because language barrier and about the legal status. So there are a lot of challenging for me. How can I say? And another problem is about running a media organization in exile. Also, is how can I say? It is not difficult to get a registration for the organization. So during this exile life, there are a lot of difficulty now what we are facing right now, but we have no choice. We can't back to the country. We have to keep going. So we try to as much as we can. We don't know what happened in the future, but today is, how can I say, we can do in the present moment. We try as much as we can. Yeah.
You have to take one day at a time.
Yeah.
Ira, I think for you it became very clear probably when Russia decided to fully invade Ukraine in February, also in February, but 2022, that you would very soon become a persona non grata. When did you realize, or was there one point when you realized, okay, I have to leave, or was it building up anyways?
I want to first say that yesterday we discussed that the absolutely different country, but the totalitarian regime is doing very similar things, and the situation that you say, it's really feel like me. So yes, in 24 February 2022, the Vladimir Putin started to full-scale war in Ukraine, and from this time, I'm not sure, but something about 17th Russian newsroom have to leave our country and go to exile. And I start to think about it on the first day of the war. But for my personal reason, I cannot do it. And finally, I leave on September 22, when the Putin start to mobilization in Russia. So I live in Lithuania, in Vilnius, because it's one of the countries in Europe who give the humanitarian visa and resident permits for Russian journalists, for Russian from Belarus and Ukraine. So it's how like start my work in exile and my life in exile.
Abigail, probably a lot of this sounds familiar to you as well, even though you're from a different continent. You're originally from Nicaragua, and you told me that over 300 journalists have gone into exile from Nicaragua amid the state repression under the current regime of Daniel Ortega. How did being a woman journalist shape the threats that you faced, and then also what finally made you leave?
Before leaving Nicaragua, I spent 6 months in constant internal displacement, 4 of them in different safe houses. I was spied on for several months. A soldier in civilian clothes was always following me. I survived an attempted kidnapping as a warning carried out by men, civilian clothes, because the military, there is a form to say, we are here. It's not the state. It's a citizen who confront you.
So it could be anyone.
Yes, it's not the police, it's not but we know it's the police and they are militaries. Also, I was arbitrarily detained twice while covering different events in Nicaragua. I suffered repeated police persecution after denouncing the abuse and crime committed against journalists by the national police in Nicaragua. I received threats from pro-dictatorship journalists, because in this context, always they have two bands now. And I remember he told me I need to watch my face. In this occasion, he say, watch your face. Remember, women like you, always for worse. And I comment all that because it's important to say in a dictatorship, it doesn't matter if you are a man or a woman journalist. You're an enemy for them. But the difference lies in how they violate your right, how they threaten you and making you think that in any moment they catch you, they have the power to catch you, and if they want, to rape you. And we need to understand they use all kinds of tricks to send the message to a woman journalist. The message is that in prison your face, your body, your supposed beauty will be destroyed. And all of this is the sample and the horrible and terrible expression of the sexist or machista thought. And we need to understand all the authoritarian and dictator regime is violent and machista against women. And it's not a different in a normal woman or a journalist woman. So we need to accept this commitment for being a journalist. We need to understand what we do and the rest to do it. And use different protocol. It's important to say I never decide to leave my country. I left Nicaragua on November 20 on 2021, just for made a complaint, a denounce for the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, and was the moment when I decided to come back to Nicaragua for cover the election presidential on 2021. I received a call for say, they go for you. It's the moment.
So you went to Costa Rica.
Yes.
And as Sumon also said, it doesn't stop there. It's not as if you go, you cross the border and then all your problems disappear. You have a lot of new challenges. As Sumon said, registration, legal status. Also, Ira was talking about visa. Obviously, you all mentioned that you left because you wanted to continue working as journalists. You wanted to continue telling the stories that you were telling before. Were there situations or were there challenges that you felt were particular for you being a woman journalist in exile? Abigail, you want to continue?
Okay, first, we never talk about family. I don't know why, but the journalism is a hard profession. And we think all the time, we say, I'm Abigail Hernandez, I'm a journalist, I'm Nadine, I'm a journalist, and the journalist is all. We think that, but it's not true. And I accept that in exile. It's rare to say that, but it's true. In exile, all the familiar dynamic change. I made different notes because I have different points about that. And for example, in my case, I don't speak publicly about my family. I don't post anything on social media, for example. But when you are in exile, all that help you for protect your family. And the situation with family is hard because, for example, my mother, she's a woman with more than 70 years. She dislikes the digital world. Is not her interest. So now we talk, we don't have the opportunity to talk daily. I call her once every 2 weeks. We don't schedule a call, we don't have a day or hour to talk. Sometimes I use other person, I call other person to know what happened with my family is part of my protocol. But in exile, you transform you in a witness of your family because you're not present. The situation, you transform you in a daughter, a wife, a mother, a friend, a sister, in absence. And every day you feel your family disappear. So it's difficult because when your family facing a problem, you don't have the opportunity to help, just hear. And here when they decide to tell you what happened, because they want to protect you also. So everybody wants to protect, but the family lost the connection.
Ira, being declared a foreign agent might also mean that, I don't know, does it still affect your family back in Russia? Is that something that, you know, affects more than just you personally?
Both.
In terms of security?
Yep. One part of my family, my mom and my relatives stay in Russia. And in this time, I think they quite safe because I started to be a foreign agent not for a long time. It's only then in the autumn. But in the future, it can be. I know that's because it's absolutely everyday practice about Russian journalists and other foreign agents. When they early in the morning, about 10 policemen knock to your door and ring to your door and start to search your flat and house. So my mom live alone, and I'm really nervous about this situation because I know in the future it can be. But for me now it's quite safe because I hope in Vilnius they cannot reach me.
And how does that affect your ability also to report? I mean, from the work that we know, and we work with journalists in exile, psychosocial safety is very important. Of course, I mean, I can imagine it affects you, or can you actually just switch it off and, as Abigail said, then just be the journalist and not be the mother, the sister, the daughter in exile? Does it affect what you report on or how you report?
I'm not only journalist because I'm mom also, so it's like a two job in the same time. And I'm happy that my kids here in Europe with me. And I don't know, for me, I can't make this different because it's two part of me, yes.
So Mon, you were talking about also setting up your news outlet again in exile, working in exile as a journalist. What are the biggest challenges that you face there in your professional, the professional Sumon in exile?
Yes, currently what we facing is like a organizational registration because in Myanmar we can renew our registration because the military revoked the publication license. So we need, officially registration in exile. But there's a lot of challenging to do that. And then we are a small media outlet, so we have no too many badges. And another thing is now we are in exile over more than 4 years. So, and in the early years of exile, I see that there are, a lot of funding opportunity. Many organizations support for the Myanmar journalists. But during this year, all of us, we know the staff from the U.S. funding cut, another country also, they have reduced the funding for the Myanmar. So this year is worsened situation for the Myanmar media outlet in exile. And how can I say, as a small media organization, we have to try to get the funding to pay the biggest salary for the journalists, because the journalists are in exile. They have to work in exile, but not only them, they also have their family, kids, and even the parents. They have to flee from the country with the whole family. Even they didn't get the salary, how can they survive? No? You can imagine, because there are a lot of my colleagues, women journalists, they have a kid, and also the parents, she have to take care of everything for the family, but income is not stable. So some of the women journalists, talk about, they are become an exile due to this career. But in exile, it's nearly to let go their career due to this situation. So, it's very difficult to decide. There have some journalists, they abandon their career. They have to find other job because they need to take care of their family. So how can I say? We want to do this job, keep doing, but the situation is stuck and it's forced to us to how can I say? Not to be in this career. So now currently in exile, journalists, this is what we're facing right now. This is a reality, yeah.
Yeah, because the reality is that the majority of journalists in exile, men and women, cannot continue working as journalists, and which also means that a lot of important stories are not being told anymore. Why does it matter that women journalists in exile continue to report? What would be the stories that would disappear, Abigail?
It's important. This is profession for us, and is when somebody watch the news on TV or hear the news on radio, they hear us to talk about human rights, about different types of all kinds of violations or human rights violation. But inside of in a media, the women journalists, we need to fight for be a journalist because it's not easy for us. I say all the time, it's not the same, the journalist for men than for a woman. We need to prove we can do it that. We need to prove we can be photographer, photojournalist, or investigative journalist. We need to prove to the boss all the time because sometimes our colleagues say, no, but now you all have all the rights, everything is okay now, you have the opportunity to be a boss or chef, or others women have the opportunity to have their own media. And it's true, but we need to work twice and three times more than a man. And in my country, for example, the men talk about the political corruption, macroeconomy, and other things about, in this moment in my country, they talk about the dictatorship. But the women journalists, we talk about gender violence, about water. In my country, the water, the access of land is very important because the minorities live in our territories. So the work of women is important, but because we talk about human rights, we talk about children, we talk about education, we talk about climate change. If we disappear, so we regret to this typical conservative, inequative journalistic agenda. We really make a change in the mediatic agenda in our country. We talk about minority, and it's nothing personal with my colleague, man. But I'm a journalist, and I'm convinced the life of women, for example, in men's hands is data.
What do you mean?
Yes, it's data. 250 women killed by their husband. We talk about the children of this woman. We talk about the community who lost this woman. We talk about the sister who lost this woman, the mother, the grandmother. We talk about the teacher of this woman, because we understand what all they face in their life, because we are women, and we face the same all our life. So women in the different relations around the world are important, and in Latin American countries and African countries, we are really important because we make change about equity, about human rights, about inclusive democracy.
Ira, you're an investigative journalist. Is there a story where you feel that you had better access, or you told the story differently than a male colleague would have told it?
Yeah, I think that there are some topics that the women journalists tell better than men journalists, like a feminist agenda and women's health specific, and also motherhood and maternity, also lesbian issues, and for example, reproductive abuse. It's all topics about women, and I think the women journalists know how to tell with the other women about this better than the men can do it. I think it's very easy.
Before we come to your questions or comments, I want to ask you, well, I've asked you before actually when we talked in the preparation to bring one object that would visualize what keeps you going, or also visualize the burden that might be in your invisible backpack. And I just found out you all chose very similar objects. So maybe I don't want to kind of finish this conversation before we've spoken about that as well. Ira, you want to start, and then you might get the theme here as well. But I found it very interesting.
Yeah, this this small nickel, it's a Star of David, and I bought in my hometown in St. Petersburg some years ago, before the exile, of course. And it keeps me from forgetting who I am. I'm Russian Jewish, and where I come from St. Petersburg. It's my favorite, my hometown, my favorite city.
Sumon?
We are the same. I'm also my necklace because my mom gave to me. So since I left from my home, this is only tint of my priority. So this is appreciate valuable for me. And then because when I miss home and my mother, this is I'm thinking about this my mother gave to me and he with me. So yeah, it's just strange for me to encourage my job. Yeah.
Abigail.
It's a hard exercise. Okay, we are the girls of necklace, but we never talk about that. It's coincidence. Okay, this is a map of Nicaragua. This is the Nicaragua map. In my case, I don't have Nicaraguan passport and Nicaraguan ID. Drive license, because in Nicaragua, the journalists, we don't have the right to have it. Now, I use an Honduran passport and Honduran ID, and a card who say I'm a refugee. My lawyer,
Go.
I'm sorry. My lawyer say now I'm a Honduran person. It's not true. I'm Nicaraguan.
I think this is a very important message in general, that you are all still, we're Nicaraguan, Burmese, Russian, no matter who is currently running those countries, and you continue to be journalists, and I have the utmost respect and admiration for you that you continue under this incredibly difficult circumstances and continue to tell the stories that matter, continue to tell the stories many others can't anymore, telling the stories for the audience back home, and also for all of us outside those countries where we don't really get an insight anymore what's really going on. So thank you for your strength as well. So up to you. Any questions? And also, if any of you have been working with journalists in exile, I've seen two colleagues here, hello. Please tell us, share your thoughts, your best practices, your good practices, because it's obvious that there's more needed. We need to be better at supporting you and helping you to continue working, all of us as a community. Tina.
Hello. First of all, I want to say a big thank because you told your heartbreaking stories to us, and I wish you to stay very, very strong. Now about the question, you are in exile, and I'm interested, is your government still trying to reach you to damage your reputation or professional everyday life, or somehow damage you, or they don't care what you're doing outside of country in exile? I have this question with all of three of you.
Who wants
Thank you.
For the Nicaraguan press, now we are more than 300 Nicaraguan journalists in exile in different countries, Costa Rica, Spain, or United States, in other case, Mexico, but it's not that the majority. But in Costa Rica, we compare the border, the north border, Costa Rican border, and the south Nicaraguan border. Costa Rica is not a safety place for us. The regime continue with espionage. They send you message. 4 weeks ago, I received a photo of my house in Nicaragua with the message, look, is the way you say, we remember you, we know who you are, we know you continue in your work. Now we need to continue with a protocol, a security protocol, and this the last year was complicated. In Costa Rica, the police said in a public way, we don't have the option to protect you. So you need to leave the country. You need to leave Costa Rica. Imagine for us, it's hard because we need to try to find another country, and in the migratory problems are hard because in my case, I don't have a Nicaraguan passport and a Nicaraguan ID, so I need to find, my father is from Honduras. That is the reason with 40 years I need to reclaim the nationality for have a document. Maybe for you, and a passport, an ID, driver license is not important. It's just for work, it's just for travel, it's just for, but believe me, this document is really important. It's part of your life, it's part of your identity. If you don't have it, you don't have country. It's a civil die. So this is part of the persecution they give you. They continue to make espionage for your family. So in our case, for the Nicaraguan press, we are not faced outside Nicaragua. The exile is just for protect. Sometimes for protect your team, your work team, your family, and for us is an option for take a little breath, but we continue to work for Nicaragua.
Thank you. I see more questions.
Thank you for sharing your stories. I'm also a journalist in exile, and I was crying with you because, but I just want to say that you are very, very strong, and we all are very, very strong, and we will fight it. And I want to ask, Abigail mentioned it just a little bit, but do you face like everyday sexism back in your home countries and now? I mean, when, for example, your expert mentions your how you look, maybe just attitude. The attitude is not as serious as to male journalists. Thank you.
Who would like? Ira, you want to?
Yeah, I can say that because of my main topic that I'm covered the Russian crimes, Russian army crimes in the war in Ukraine, and I have to communicate with a lot of Russian soldiers So it's not very not very easy because sometimes, often, I deal with harassment and rudeness in direct messages and social media, in Telegram, in Russian social media of Kontakte, and that people can say me or text me something about how I look, or it's, I don't know, I don't want to repeat these things because it's really sexual harassment, and I'm sure that my male colleagues, I think, never faced off of these comments, and I've grown used to it by now, but only because it happens so often, unfortunately. So that's.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. No? People with the microphones have left? No? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm being told that no, but catch us. Happy to speak to all of you on the way out or just outside of the theater. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and an honor. And I am sure we will continue to hear your stories and to hear from you. So thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. Thank you everyone online as well who might have joined us. And yes, please speak to us if you have questions or want to share good practices. Thank you. Oh, and if you want to pick up the study we did in Central America, there are some copies right here. It's well worth a read. Thanks.